Hey everyone, today I'm talking about some tips for buying your first paintball marker. So if you're looking to get into paintball, if you're looking to buy your first marker, pay attention to these because these will be helpful tips. And the very first one I'm going to start off with is do as much research as you can do. You want to know what you're buying. You want to know what you're getting. Specifically, try to talk to people that have the markers that you're interested in. They're going to be able to tell you what's good about them, what's bad about them, the common pitfalls to look out for, stuff like that. So just do as much research as you can, and then that way, hopefully you're not surprised when you buy something. The second tip, and this is one that nobody does, including myself, read the manual. For real, read the manual. There's a lot of super useful stuff in there. I honestly don't read manuals when I buy things, but I've been doing this a long time. I've got a knowledge base to work off of, but I still should. You still should read your manual. You don't have to read it front to back, but there's definitely going to be useful stuff in there, like troubleshooting tips and stuff like that. So if it starts leaking or if it starts doing something it's not supposed to do or not doing something that it is supposed to do, usually in the manual there's going to be a page that shows the common issues and what causes them. If your marker doesn't come with a physical manual, 99% of the time there is one online, so you can just find it online. And it's also going to have useful tips for things like what lubricant that you need to use and, how to change the velocity, stuff like that. Which brings me to my next point, which would be lube it up. Use the lubricant. Paintball markers do require some kind of lubricant in order to function properly. Now, the kind of lubricant they need will vary depending on what marker we're talking about. Some of them will use oil, some of them will use grease. So some of them don't really care if you use oil or grease, but there's a lot of them that you really want to use one over the other. The manual is going to tell you which one, and definitely, look into that, make sure it's lubed up. A lot of them will come out of the box pre-lubricated, so they're good to go, but some of them don't. So it's a good thing to figure out, and it's a good thing to just make sure they're lubed up. That way, you don't run into weird problems down the line. The next tip would be chrono the marker before you start messing with the velocity. And I can't stress this enough because I have had so many phone calls from people who they buy a marker, it's brand new, before they even check what speed it's shooting, they try to jack it all the way up, and then they cause problems with it because they're just turning it way out of its operating range. Do not mess with the velocity until you know what velocity you're shooting. If you're not familiar with what the word chrono means, it means chronograph. It's a little radar unit you would use to test the speed of the shot. Do that first before you start fiddling with any kind of velocity or anything like that. Just trust me, so many people make this mistake, and just you don't want to, right? You don't want to do that. The last tip that I'm going to say is, if you break a paintball inside the marker, if you're playing and you break paint inside it, before you use that marker again, you definitely want to take it apart and clean it. It will probably be fine the day of when you break paint inside of it. It'll probably still keep working just fine. But if you then, go home, put it in storage, the next time that you try to use it, it's not going to work for you, just because the paint will just sit inside the marker and it'll actually solidify, and it basically acts like glue and glues all the moving parts together so they don't move anymore. That won't be fun. It really sucks to show up to a day of play and then find out your stuff doesn't work. So if you break paint inside it, take it apart, clean it out. One little caveat to that though, if you break paint inside your marker and you take the barrel out and you can see that the break started somewhere down the barrel, you don't really have to do anything other than just clean out the barrel. If you find that the break happened in the breech of the marker itself, that's when you want to take it apart and clean it, because that's when the paint is all around all the moving parts and stuff, and that's what's going to cause problems. But yeah, those are some just helpful tips for if you're getting your first marker. These are just things that, a lot of people don't know, and then they cause problems for themselves that were really easy to avoid. So hopefully if you follow these tips, none of that stuff happens to you. But yeah, do you guys have any other suggestions for new first marker tips? If you do, leave them in the comments, and thanks for watching.